All right, so here we are, season one, episode one of Kitchen Brain Podcast. Today, for our very first episode, I have a very special guest, somebody who's very special to me, Chef Antwon Brinson. Antwon is a really good friend of mine. We were both at the Greenbrier Apprenticeship Program back in the early 2000s. Since the Greenbrier, Antwon has worked in professional kitchens around the world in places like the U.S. Virgin Islands, Hawaii, San Francisco. He is here in my hometown now, Charlottesville, Virginia. He was the executive chef at a local spot in Charlottesville for a little while, and then he decided to follow his heart, follow his vision. He's now the president of Culinary Concepts AB. I'll let him speak a little bit more about that later on, but he's doing some pretty incredible things. The reason why Antwon is my first guest here on Kitchen Brain is he gave me a little bit of a push recently, and I'm a working executive chef here in Charlottesville, and I've had all sorts of ideas about things that I can do kind of on the side and maybe start my own thing. And Antwon just took that leap of faith in himself, and it's one that I don't have the courage maybe to do, and to just walk away from my livelihood and start something on my own. But he had that faith in himself, and it's working out really well for him. But he took a look at some video of a talk that I did at a conference back in February, and he looked at me and he was like, dude, he's like, you need to just do this. He said, you don't have to quit your job, just get it started and do it and see where it goes. And he gave me that push, and that was really awesome. And I'll always remember that and always appreciate it. I'll certainly blame him if this fails, but if it works out, then then it's all good. But he's the guy that pushed me to do this. So you could blame him in the future for anything that I say on this podcast. But what's up, Antwon? How's it going, Chef?
Hey man, good,
Good,
great, great,
man.
great. I'm glad.
Good.
I'm happy. I'm happy to see you here, man. This is such a milestone, man.
I know. This is what we did. This is what we're building. It's been a lot of fun. If nothing else, it's been a lot of fun, and I do truly appreciate your kind of little push there. And congratulations, because you and your wife just had a new baby, right?
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
pretty
yes.
big news. Just bought a new house, new baby. Crazy business going in all sorts of new and innovative directions. So a lot of cool things happening in the Brinson world. So that's pretty cool, man. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so I guess a good way to start off here is to kind of bring up a little bit of an issue in our industry, and because I think it ties into some of the reasons why you started Culinary Concepts and what you do. But you hear chefs all the time talk about the new generation of cooks that are coming into the industry, and it's not the same. And these new cooks, there's just this new generation just isn't the same as it was. And I always thought that was a pretty ridiculous statement, because you're saying that it's new, and then you're saying that it's different, and that in itself is always true. Um, but I feel like that we need to embrace what we call this new generation, and know that it's here, whether we like it or not. And we need to nurture it and figure out how to make it work for us, and how to adjust our model and help them out, help this new generation out. And that's what I feel like you've done. But overall, I think that it's not that these young kids didn't just get born with their character and their beliefs and their ethics. It was the society around them that shaped them. It was their home life that shaped them. It was all these different things. And you kind of have I think, a unique upbringing and a unique home life and childhood situation. And I think that's a great way to start, because obviously you are a really determined and motivated and successful entrepreneur now, who was in professional kitchens. And I think it would be great for you to just kind of tell us, how did you become shaped into that person that everybody wishes we could find now? Where did you start out?
Well, first, thanks for having me, dude. This is
Yeah,
this is
man.
dope. It's really, really, really cool to see. I love to see seeds grow, plant seeds and watch them grow, and to kind of see your seed reach this first level of growth. This is awesome. So congrats. But to answer your question, I grew up in a household. My mom was a foster parent, and she was extremely passionate about what she did. I always like to refer back to like growing up. I didn't grow up in a household where my mom was like, "I love you. You're the best kid." My mom was rough. Like my mom was. She didn't really say "I loved you" much. She would tell you it was wrong and tell you to fix it. But she didn't have to say much because she showed me every single day. And I think that as a kid growing up, I didn't appreciate it. I got to see not a person live what they want to do, but like live what they're truly meant to do.
Sure.
And she did it every single day. And so you grow up, and when you go on your journey, and you start to find your way, you start to look back and reflect in your life for markers that kind of help you along the way. And for me, for a long time, my mom to this day, she still is like that marker for me, because she did so many amazing things in such a short period of time, that when I look back for heroes in my life, and for moments or people that inspire me, she's probably the biggest inspiration for me.
Nice. So how many people did she foster?
So the record, well, let her tell it. She's definitely had over 250 kids.
I'm sorry.
From the time that I was three.
I think you broke up there. It sounded like you said 250.
That's exactly what I said.
Get out of here.
She raised over 200. Kid you not, man. That was
Wow.
She loved what she did, man.
That's phenomenal.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I have kids that I grew up with that I consider brothers and sisters, just because we grew up together. Some kids were there for 8 years.
Wow.
So I have like this extended family, that my mom embraced and brought these kids in, and we grew up. She didn't treat anybody different. We all were treated the same,
Right.
And we just all grew up with this mindset, that she instilled it in all of us, that you could really be and do whatever you want to do. You just got to work hard at it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important. I think when we talk about, the societal effect on people and how it shapes them, and then we talk about the people who are coming into our kitchens today. I think part of the problem is that we're looking at everybody the same as it always was. We're not changing our mind to say this is a different generation that has a different world around them. It really is a different environment. And what we went through when we were apprentices, that's, by today's standards, that's not necessarily acceptable. And that's just the way society is. And we might not agree with it. And we might hope that, everybody who comes through our door is just like we were, but that's just not how it goes. And, like my dad was very similar. I mean, my parents, they worked their asses off to make sure that we had what we needed. And, they gave us whatever we needed to be comfortable, but they also, they wanted us to succeed. They wanted us, whatever that meant for us, just find something that you love to do and figure out a way to make a decent, honest living doing it. And that was kind of the message that we got. So yeah, I think that's a really important thing. My sister-in-law was visiting us recently, and I got into a big conversation with her because we hadn't spoken for a while, and she asked me about Kitchen Brain and asked me about Be Better Culinary Perspectives, and was looking to see what that was all about. And we started getting into this new generation of people, and she made a very interesting point. And she said the words that she used were the environment, the people haven't changed, the parents have changed. And I didn't take that literally, and she didn't mean that literally. But for me, the parents in that statement is the environment. It is society, which always changes. A new generation is always going to bring a new mindset in the people that come in to interview for jobs. So, we need to stop complaining about it, I think, and try to learn about this new generation and what we need to do to make our world appealing to them. So I don't know. That's kind of,
Yeah, I noticed that to kind of piggyback off of that is, I would say, I go back to my hero, right? My mom, right? Like she lived in this state of agility, right? And what I mean by that is that, she would get some kids sometimes that, the doctors would say, you know what, Mary, this is an emergency placement. This kid might not make it through the night. They have a breathing problem.
right.
And my mom would like just pour into these kids, right? Like pour into them. And every kid was different. And she didn't treat every kid the same. Some kids required more attention than others, and she was able to recognize that. But she was constantly in this state of flex,
Right.
when she was going through that. Let's change it over to the culinary world. As chefs, like we live in this state of agility. Like we are agile creatures because of our industry. You get a 10 top at 9 o'clock, you're gonna make it happen, right?
Sure.
The
Yeah.
banquet goes up or down, you're gonna flex, right? Like we
Yeah.
live in this state of agility, but for some reason, that mindset has only been focused on the technical side of things and not the soft skill side,
Right.
developing people. And I think that we came up in a generation where, that was kind of just like an unspoken thing where, our chefs invested in us. But the new generation of chefs that are out there now, they're so focused on technique, and that's partly driven by technology. They're driven by, TV, that's driven by their influencers, right? There's so many things that contribute to this new mindset, but we need to get back to investing in people because that is what's going to essentially allow the kitchens to flourish.
Yeah. 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 No, for sure. Um, yeah, that's definitely for sure. So you went. We were both at the Greenbrier. I don't know if you were one class behind me or two classes behind me, but we were in the building at the same time. You stayed there a little longer. You were a sous chef in was it Fusions? Infusions? What was it?
Infusion, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
baby.
yeah. So yeah, and then you went to Hawaii. You disappeared and went to Hawaii for a while. And what was going on in Hawaii? What was that like?
I before I came to the Greenbrier, I was in Hawaii. I was in the Caribbean for almost 4 years, and
Okay.
I traveled. I lived in eight different islands, countries, and I wanted to get back to island life. I love the culture. I love exploring, and I love traveling. I moved out there. I took a job at the St. Regis out there, and took over this amazing restaurant. And the story, I don't think I've ever shared this with you, but like I remember my first time, like I came in from this strict brigade system with Chef Peter Timmons and Rosendale, where it was just like a certain way. Yes, chef, you get it done.
Yeah.
And I go out there with this single-minded mentality. And anybody that's ever been to Hawaii, one thing: it's all about ohana. It's all about family. And I kind of went out there with this single-minded mentality. It's like I'm a chef. I'm here to do a job, and we're gonna get it done. Period. And I didn't really have the family first mentality. I really wasn't there. I wasn't thinking about embracing my team. And when I first got there, I remember I tried to rally my team, and I failed. I absolutely failed. I lost my team, and it took me about 6 months to really get them back and to repair that relationship because I didn't invest in people first,
Sure.
right? I
Yeah.
went out there with this mindset that I'm going to drive talent, I'm going to drive technical skill, I'm going to drive menus, and we're going to be the best. But I forgot about the people. And I would say for me in my career, that was probably the biggest learning curve for me as a chef, where it was an eye opener. It was like, damn, dude, you really got to invest in your guys and you got to grow your guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all went through that coming from the Greenbrier. And the Greenbrier is not the only place that was like that. And I recognize that there are a lot of places that follow that same level of standards and had that same kind of training program. But I think we all needed to be like reprogrammed to a
Yeah.
degree. And it's funny too because when I hire sous chefs now, when they come from a place like the Greenbrier or the Broadmoor or wherever they're coming from that has that kind of a mindset, that's one of the first things that I talk to them about, you know, when they get the job is like, okay, really happy you're here. I know you're going to do great things, but just so you know, we do things a little bit differently than you might be used to. And I'm going to have to get in your head a little bit and just tweak things a little and reprogram what's been programmed. Not that it's wrong, but it's just different. That was great for your education, and it worked for you, and that's awesome. I'm not saying that it's bad, but now I'm going to teach you how to deal with people and communicate with people and be, you know, somebody that everybody wants to follow, you know. And there is a little bit, because I remember when I got out, man, and I went to when I got out, it sounds like we got out a lockup. But but you know, when I got out, I went up to Westchester, and I was at a private club, and that was my first sous chef position, you know, like my first real sous chef position, you know. And I think about that, and I know if people from back then who were in the kitchen then saw me now, they would be like, what happened? Like, you used to be such a badass. Like, you used to be scary in the kitchen, you know, like we were afraid to do anything that wasn't, you know, what you expected. And, you know, you kind of learn to manage by fear. And then after a while, you kind of learn that that's not, you know, that's not going to cut it. Otherwise you're going to be all by yourself one day. But yeah, it's funny you say that, because I think we all went through that rehabilitation period as far as, you know, our mental makeup and how we talk to each other.
So Mike, I'm a big believer in karma, and I'm going to share a really quick story with you. So when I
Yeah.
was in high school, I took a vocational program for culinary arts, and my first year in the program, I literally spent like every day in school suspension. I had an old school Hungarian chef that was, he came from the world of "you will respect me." And
Right.
I'm a kid from the hood that came from the world of respect is earned. You don't just get respect. Like
Right.
it's something that you earn over a period of time. So me and this guy, we didn't see eye to eye.
Right.
And I went on this journey through my career, and I find myself in Hawaii, and I went in with that same mentality, that Hungarian chef's mentality, where it's just like, I got my stripes, I've done all these things, I just opened a restaurant, at one of the top places in the culinary world. And, I go in thinking that you're going to respect me. And I fell on my face, right? So it was a very humbling experience, but a very necessary experience that I feel like when you're in a smaller restaurant, you don't feel the impact of it as much as you do in a larger setting.
Sure. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense for sure. So you spent some time in the world of palm trees and decided time to come back to, I guess, still some more palm trees, but San Francisco. How long were you in San Francisco? What do you
Oh man, what, a year and a half?
year and a
Dude,
half?
I wanted to get the hell out of there, man. I love SF for the food. The food was awesome. My job, by the way, was really awesome. I went from chef to running the entire food and beverage department, and I had an awesome job.
Yeah.
And when you look at your 3-year and your 5-year trajectory
Yeah.
in San Francisco, it crushes all of your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations, because you're never going to be able to buy a house. Right?
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to put your kids through college.
Right.
Like you're never going to be able to take a real vacation. Like,
Yeah.
and you're never going to save anything. And I was just like, yo, babe, we got to get the hell out of here. Like, San Francisco's cool. I got a lot of opportunity here, but we can do better somewhere else. We were making the most money than we ever made in any property. And
Sure.
we were taking home the least amount. The bottom line wasn't there. And I was like, we got to bounce.
Which is pretty scary when you've lived in Hawaii, because I mean the cost of living in Hawaii is
Right.
astronomical.
Yes.
So that says a lot. That
Right.
speaks volumes when you say that it was tough to make ends meet with that kind of salary in San Francisco when you just came from Hawaii. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and I thought the same thing. I was like, oh man, nothing's gonna be worse than Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii, going from West Virginia to Hawaii, I mean, just from an economical standpoint, it's
They're not.
upside
They're not
down, right? Like I
similar. They're
was
not
not
similar.
ready.
I thought they were
No,
pretty
no
close. No.
shape, fashion, or form was I mentally prepared for that journey financially, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I'm gonna be making great money out here. I'm good. I don't gotta worry about anything. And reality hit. It's like, oh, I gotta really adjust my lifestyle.
Yeah, that is pretty wild, man. I remember because Drew Garms and I lived in a house. We had we had a 2-bedroom
I remember
house
that house.
with a big backyard and a front and back porch and a little. It wasn't a garage, but it was like a shed. We had a 2-car driveway. It wasn't the most beautiful house around. We rented that house for $350 a month, including utilities. Including utilities. That was total. That wasn't each. That was not each, my friend. That was total. $350 a month. And for
Yeah.
everybody listening who thinks that we're old fucks, it's not because it was such a long time ago. All right. It's because in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia, that's what real estate goes for. We probably could have bought the house for 50 grand if we wanted to.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So
a different time, man.
moving from there to the islands, I could imagine that was a shock.
Yeah, we had a beautiful condo out there, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
But it was a wake up call, And I would say, and I'm a budget guy, so like, I've always, I have budgets. I live my life on a budget. I have a spreadsheet at the beginning of the year. I forecast what I'm going to do in my personal life. It's just the same way I am as a professional chef is the same way that I run my personal life. I'm like, I am not going to make a restaurant a shit ton of money and not make myself some money too.
Right.
So I apply the same principles across the board. And, but Hawaii, I wasn't ready for it, man.
Yeah.
Carton of milk, $8, man.
Milk is an import, isn't it? I'm pretty sure milk is imported.
I mean, you can get a local, but that's even more expensive. So,
man, that's crazy. Oh
yeah,
man, so you leave San Francisco and you came to Charlottesville, which I was really excited about. I was already here, and then I heard that you were coming to be an executive chef at a local spot here. And you did that for a little bit, but now here is where I think the story gets a little bit interesting. You settled into Charlottesville and you ran this kitchen, which is a beautiful place. But some things, you saw some things, I think, and I'm not going to put thoughts in your head. You're going to tell us, but there were some things going on in your head and some observations that created some opportunity in your mind. And you took that. So tell me what happened there.
I think that before you get there, you got to actually take a couple steps back.
Sure.
This issue that we face in the industry, it didn't start 4 years ago. This is something that we've been experiencing since 2007, 2008. That it was just starting to simmer back then. Right now, it's boiling, right? But this is something that started a while ago. So on my journey of traveling and working different places, there's always been a staffing issue. I think every chef can attest to that. There's always been a staffing issue, but we made do. And what made Charlottesville so unique for me is that, a couple things. One, I came in with this extremely naive mindset that, oh, I'm coming from, San Francisco, I got staff out here. And I'm going to the small town, Charlottesville, and I'm going to open up this fine dining restaurant. Everybody's going to want to work there. It's a fine dining restaurant, small town. Yeah, this is going to be easy. So that was my mindset coming in. I failed from the door. just from that thought right there alone, I failed, right, straight up. And then the second piece was, that I didn't know until I launched my company. Charlottesville, when you look at restaurants per capita, is number 3 in our nation. And what that means is Charlottesville has over 500 restaurants in a 10-mile radius. And I want you guys to really take a second to kind of wrap your brain around that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Over 500 restaurants in a 10-mile radius, right? That is ridiculous,
That
right?
is ridiculous.
So, I mean, coming into it, already people were robbing Peter to pay Paul just to get staff, right? And it's this culture here where it's just like, they poach, and you see it in cities, you see it everywhere, people poach. But in Charlottesville, because it's such like sardines in a can here with the restaurants, everybody knows everybody. And now that you stole my guy, I'm not talking to you anymore. So now we're already in an industry where we work in silos. I mean, that just put up a couple concrete walls. It's like, yeah, I'm not talking to you ever, right? So I walked into this crazy environment, and I had less than a month where I had to hire my sous chefs, my line cooks, my dishwashers, and I had 0 applications, 0. So I'm not gonna lie, man, it was a humbling experience. I really backed away from my ego quick, and I was like, all right, how can I get people in here? So I went to the drawing board. I posted an ad, and it said, are you passionate about cooking? Have you ever worked in a professional kitchen? Send me your resume. And it was literally like somebody turned on the faucet, resumes started to flow in. And, I went into this opportunity with probably the greenest culinary team that anybody has ever seen. Like there's one of the owners of the club, a guy named Ben. I never forget this. Ben came up to me. This was like a week before opening, and my guys are in the kitchen. And, literally, this is how you hold a knife. This is how you set a cutting board, right? And I'm teaching them how to navigate the kitchen. And Ben comes up to me and he's like, hey, Antwon, are your guys going to be okay for the opening? I'm like, they'll be ready. And he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, we'll be ready. And, we went into it, we launched it, we were good, But what that experience taught me was there were a plethora of individuals out there that were extremely passionate about cooking, but the ads that we were posting didn't speak to them. This spoke to them. This spoke to the opportunity of growth, right? So I continued to post this ad for, about 6 months. After interviewing so many people, I started to see a trend. And what that trend was a lot of the folks that were applying had industry experience. Some people 5 years, some people 10 years. But the commonality for them was that you might have 5 years working pantry station. You might have 10 years and you've worked pantry and saute, and that's it. And you're coming to me saying, hey, I want to be your sous chef because I've been in the game for 5 years. I'm qualified to be your executive sous because I've been in the game for 10 years.
Yeah, I got it.
And there was this disconnect, right? This disconnect between station specific experience and overall kitchen experience. And so, my first thought process with that was, hey, are there any organizations out there designed to help these individuals get the skill set they need to navigate the kitchen? Because this isn't necessarily an individual that wants to go to culinary school. They just want some training to get the foundational skills so they can keep moving up.
Sure.
And what I found, which was kind of sad, was, at the time, it was only 3 organizations nationally that came close to what my vision was. And the rest is history. And from there, I was like, well, what if I created a program? What if I created a program that focused on the skills that we need in the kitchen? I don't want to be a culinary school. Like, what if I gave them station-specific experience? What if I prepared them with the navigational skills that they need to operate in the industry, right? Like, what would happen? So, as they say, when you get that entrepreneur bug, you kind of just like jump off a cliff, right? So that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, you did, man. You definitely jumped off a cliff into a really cool thing, and I'm glad that it's working out. I'm not ready to jump off a cliff yet, as you know, and that's why I am still gainfully employed as a full-time executive chef, and that's fine. That's fine. I'll get there. Hopefully, we can get to a point where I feel good. Getting there. You pushed me to the edge of the cliff, and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see if I take the leap. So,
don't worry, Chef. I won't stop pushing.
I know you won't. That's why I got to be careful how often we get together. So listen. So you have this epiphany, right? And you realize that you can do this, and then you just decide I'm gonna walk away from everything that I'm familiar with. I'm going to walk away from what I'm best at up until this point, which is running a professional kitchen. And I'm going to start a business, create websites and virtual platforms and do all these things that, you know, you don't learn in culinary school, and you didn't learn at the Greenbrier, and you didn't learn in any of your experience in the islands. You know, what makes you do that? What makes you say, yeah, fuck it. Let's jump.
You know, I'm a big believer, you know, and I know this is where me and you align in really embracing the journey. And I think that what happens a lot of the times is that people embrace the parts of the journey that they that relate to them the most, right? The cooking aspect of it, right? What people don't embrace is the part where, you know, for me, I had the privilege of working with this guy who was my front of the house manager, who just happened to be an Excel spreadsheet whiz that taught me Excel spreadsheets, right? And I got really good at spreadsheets because of this guy. I had a privilege of working with another guy that loved camera and video that, you know, taught me a shit ton about video on my journey, right? I had the privilege of working with another guy that was super passionate about starting businesses. He actually quit his job and launched another company when I was in Hawaii. And, you know, to this day, he's super successful, right? So I had the opportunity on my journey to meet individuals that were preparing me for my journey that I didn't even know at the time, right? This is kind of like my mom, right? Looking back in hindsight, like, oh, wow, like I've seen this before. I know what this looks like.
Right, right.
And, you know, I would say from the time that I decided I wanted to get in cooking, I always wanted to teach. I always thought I was going to go back to CIA, Culinary Institute of America, to be a teacher at some point, because that's what most chefs do. They go back to culinary school and teach.
Yeah.
I never thought in a million years that I would open up my own cooking school. But it was those moments in my journey where I had those glimpses of possibility that I reflected on that prepared me to give me the confidence to say, you know, I'm going to jump off the cliff and I'm going to do this. I've seen other people do this, guys that thought that it wasn't possible, and they did it, and they're still doing it, and they're doing well. I know I can do this. Hell, I've opened restaurants, I've done running kitchens, I've done some impossible shit. Like, I could do this. And guess what? If I can't do it, if it doesn't work out, there are over 500 restaurants around me. I can get another goddamn job. So
Yeah.
Right? So at the end of the day, it wasn't a matter for me personally. Like, it wasn't a matter if it was possible. It was if I had the balls to do it. And, you know, for me, that's why I say I jumped off a cliff, because it was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I remember telling my wife, I told my wife, you know, in the beginning, I was like, baby, if I can't make money in 6 months, then I should not be an entrepreneur. And I did it in 3, right? So I think it's just important to be able to find those moments in your life that prepared you for that moment, right? Where you're going to jump off, right? Me and you, right? We met how long ago at the Greenbrier?
Long time, man.
And here we are, our paths cross here in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Right. And my confidence has inspired you to do this amazing thing that the industry needs so much. Right. So I think it's just important to be able to recognize those moments, because once you recognize them and you really understand what it looks like, me personally, I'm a visual learner. Right. So I need to see it. You can tell me all day. If I don't see it, I don't believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, so I mean, but yeah, man, I mean, it is a leap of faith, but most importantly, you know, it's important for you to be able to find those moments, because that's going to give you the sustainability. You know, anybody can start something, but you really need to have traction at some point to be able to maintain that momentum. And I think a lot of times people start stuff and they don't really think it through. They don't really build their circle around them. You know, they really don't have that backbone yet.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
they do it, and then they hit a brick wall, or they hit a barrier and they stop. And you know, that's why I think it's super important to be able to find these tools in the beginning. So when you start, you know, you can fix this car all the way through.
Sure. Yeah. No, it makes sense. Good for you, man. I'm super proud of you. So now I'm going to be, you know, kind of the devil's advocate here, you know, and I had a conversation recently, and you're going to get excited when I tell you this. So I'll let you do your thing. But I had a conversation recently the other night with a gentleman named Mark Noguchi.
Oh, Mark, the naked chef.
Yeah, the naked chef. So Mark Noguchi, for those of you who don't know, has just become like an authority on native Hawaiian cuisine. I mean, he's basically a celebrity in Hawaii. Incredible guy. He was also at the Greenbrier for a little while, but I spoke with him for a little bit, and I do plan on having him on the show as well. But the reason I bring up the conversation is because, you know, we were both talking about how many different avenues there are for chefs to take in this industry. And, you know, it's not just, I need to be a James Beard nominated chef in a restaurant, or I need to be in a 5-star 5-diamond resort, or whatever it is. It's not just that, but the you know, part of the problem is whenever any of us leave that setting, whenever we leave a professional kitchen and are no longer quote unquote in the trenches, people talk shit, you know? So how does it make you feel with all the time and hard work that you put in and all the talent that you have, and you know what you're capable of, right? Nobody needs to validate that, but all that stuff that you did, all the lessons that you learned, and the great chefs that you worked for, and the teams that you've developed and built. Well, now you stepped out and started your own thing, which is proven to be really successful. But what do you say to the people who have that ridiculous perception that we need to change in the industry? Like, oh, well, what does he know? You know, he's a sellout. He left the kitchen. He's not really a chef anymore. He's kind of just, you know, playing the part, and he's a has-been. How do you respond?
I love that. I love that. That's awesome. I mean, here's what I say to that. Being a chef is not a job title. You know, being a chef is a lifestyle, right? Like, it's a lifestyle. We don't sleep. You know, we work, we go hard at whatever we do. We spend short time with our families. We're introverts. Like, it's a lifestyle. It's who you are, right? Like, you can never take that away, right? No matter what you do. For me personally, I got sick of hearing about the problems. I got sick of hearing every single chef that I know complain about not being able to find qualified individuals. And I made a choice. I said, I can either be a part of the problem or I can be a part of the solution. I can produce solutions or I can produce problems. And that's it, right? And that for me, it was that simple, one or two. And I was like, I'm going this way. You know what? I've found so many solutions for other people in their businesses. Why not find solutions from people in my industry and create bridges and opportunities for people to be able to reach a level that I reached or surpass me by light years, you know?
Yeah.
Because by any means, you know, we both worked under some amazing chefs. I took it as far as I wanted to take it. I didn't want to be a certified master chef. I didn't want to go do, you know, the competitions. Like, you know, I remember you continued on that journey. Like, I completely chose a different pathway, right?
Sure.
And that pathway for me, it allowed me to be able to get the confidence and to be able to get the exposure that I needed to prepare me for right now. And I think it's important for you to be able to recognize that if you stay in this single-minded mentality, and I think that's what we were talking about a little earlier, right? Where, you know, we kind of focus like this, right? I call them the horse blockers. You ever see the horse walking down the street?
Yeah.
You see the horse walking down the street, the horse blockers, right?
Yeah.
And all they can see is what's in front of them.
Right.
I feel like as chefs, we get tunnel vision. We get tunnel vision, man.
Sure.
You know, and we get this, you know, we used to call it back at the Greenbrier, we used to call it the good old boys club, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
When you get to a certain level, you graduate the apprenticeship and you stuck around and you part of the good old boys club.
Sure.
You know, it was just like, you know, what does that really signify?
Sure.
You know, is that progressiveness or is that holding people back? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. And just, I want to go back and just repeat the first sentence of your response to that question. Being a chef is not a job title. And I think that's something that people lose sight of, especially on this topic. You know, there's so much more than just what you read about and what you see in the mainstream news and social media about being a chef. Our basic fundamental responsibility as chefs is to provide nourishment for people and to know how to do that and to develop other people to be able to do that effectively. You know, that's like the very basic thing.
It's mental nourishment.
Yeah.
and then the physical nourishment that we're getting out to the table, right? So I mean, it's nourishment on all levels.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we're part of the hospitality industry, right? So we need to take care of the guest. We need to take care of each other. It's the whole big picture. So, yeah, I hear you, man. That's great, and I'm super proud of you. So, big question for me now is you've been in the trenches. You made a decision, and it was the right decision, and you're doing really well with it. Now that you've stepped a little bit out of the traditional stress of being a working executive chef, and you're kind of seeing another side of it, and you're kind of on the applicant side and the people who need guidance side. What is it that you think needs to change societally, maybe within the industry? What do you think needs to change about our culture that will make this a more appealing and viable career path for people?
I'm gonna just answer that question with a short story. One of the classes that I had, I had this individual that was, came to me kind of broken. She was told that, because her English wasn't good, that she would never be able to, get a real job or be a professional, that she would never be able to work in a professional kitchen. And I gave her an opportunity. She did the program, my training program. And on that journey, I remember sitting down with her halfway through. And, I was like, hey, you know what? How do you think you're doing? I do one-on-ones, right? And, her response to me was, which was kind of set me back a little bit. She was like, I'm sorry, chef, that I'm not doing that well. I have a learning disability. They told me when I was in school, because I didn't speak English well, that I had a learning disability. And I kind of sat back for a minute and I was like, I hate to be the one to tell you that. Now, mind you, this girl, I think she was like 32, 33. And I was like, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you don't have a learning disability and you're the best student in the class. You're excelling in every category. My only advice to you is slow down. You go too fast and you make mistakes that you shouldn't make. Right. If you just slow down a little bit, you'll do great. And she just starts crying, right? Like she just starts crying. And it was the first time in her life, in her career, that anybody had ever told her that she was more than what she was. No one had ever told her that, right? So let's translate that to the industry. As chefs, what do we glorify? What are we looking at? Are we telling guys when they work 70 hours in a week and we're like, you're doing great, man. Yeah, you crushed it, man. You worked 70 hours. But when that same individual takes 2 days off, are you telling them, great job, you spent time with your daughter, or you spent time with your wife? Are we celebrating individuals for the right things? And I think that, just like her story, that story is the story of us as chefs and what we pour into individuals. Yeah. Right? We pour the wrong things into people, and then we get disappointed when they don't stick around. We get disappointed when they don't understand that, this is just how it is. Well, why is it that this is how it is? Right? Because you went through it, you have to put somebody else through it. Right? So I think that to answer that question, to kind of sum it up, I think that the biggest change that needs to happen is that chefs need to look in the mirror. And this including myself. I wouldn't be where I am right now as a teacher, as an educator, as a mentor, as a coach, if I didn't look in the mirror. Anybody that's worked for me in the past, they'll tell you, man, like I didn't play. Just like you said, when you went to the country club, man, like we were brought up a certain way. Our mentors treated us a certain way. So we thought that it was okay to treat people a certain way. Well, guess what? Just because somebody else does it doesn't mean that it's okay. Just because we dealt with it doesn't mean that the rest of the world will, right? So it's just important to be able to recognize that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. That's spot on. I equate that to, us being stuck in the past. It's funny because I did a recording earlier and I posted like a short blurb on Instagram that kind of touched on this. But, when you think about it, you hear people talk about when they were raised and how they were raised. And, there are a lot of people out there who have some serious hardships. Some people who they don't know the next time there's going to be food on the table. and they're just working really hard to make sure there's something on the table for their family. But those same people, you never see those same people grow up and look at their kids and say, we didn't eat on Tuesdays, so you're not going to eat on Tuesdays. Like that doesn't happen. Like those people work really hard to make sure that their family can eat on Tuesdays, but chefs, for some reason, we had it a certain way in a different time, and we talk about it, and that's cool that we can share war stories and we can swap some different talk about how it used to be when we're all together and away from the new generation. But to say like, well, we didn't get breaks, so you're not going to get breaks. I never got when I was a line cook, I never got a half-hour break. You're not getting one. That's the same thing as telling your kids like you're not eating on Tuesdays. So we use this term, this phrase, family meal, right? Like we use it, but we only use it once a day, right? It's for lunch. And maybe twice a day for 2 different shifts. But you get to experience the word family once a day traditionally where we come from. But if we're going to use that word for a meal period, do we really mean it? Like, is that how you treat your actual family? And I don't think the answer is yes. So either we're a family or we're not. And like you were saying, there's too much of being stuck in the past. And your people do not give a shit what you went through in the past. You got a prep cook or a pantry cook. You got somebody who's a single mom trying to make ends meet and work hard for her kids and her family. You think she gives a shit what you went through when you were a cook? Not at all. Not one bit. Not one bit. So it's like, think about that, and that's the point that I try to get across. I'm glad you said that because that's huge, so cool, man. So real quick, let's talk about COVID-19. I don't want to talk about COVID-19. I don't want to talk about COVID-19. We clear on that? But what I do want to talk about is your model has changed a little bit because of COVID-19, right? So in-person classes is kind of had to take a pause for a little bit for you, but that didn't really stop you. You kind of, built a new opportunity for yourself, and now you're doing this virtual learning, virtual cooking class thing. Tell us about that, because that's exciting stuff.
Yeah. So when I launched my company, and this is in my original business plan, which is kind of crazy. My original business plan, I spoke to doing the training programs online. I wanted to do online training because one, it gives you an opportunity to reach more people. And two, most importantly for me, it's all about impact. How can I create a bigger impact in my industry? But the live person-to-person classes really kind of took off like wildfire for me, and really kind of positioned my organization in a place of as kind of like the lighthouse for folks that are looking for a pathway. But when COVID hit, everything kind of stopped. Everything kind of came to a pause. And I'm a big believer in, be careful what you ask for. I'm the type of guy, I'm always like, oh God, I wish I had more time. Be careful what you ask for. Well, when COVID hit, I got more time. I was like, well, I asked for it. Right? And, so, what am I going to do with it? Am I going to waste my time that I've been asking for the longest, or am I going to use my time? So, I kind of went back to my old business plan, blew off the dust. It was like, hey, man, let's reimagine, this online program in today's times. And so, I went back to the drawing board, came up with a plan, and, I call my kitchen, this is my kitchen, I call it the lab. I literally locked myself in here for 2 months. Nice. Quiet. Nobody heard from me. Nobody knew what was going on. Right. And I built out an online system. I have 4 cameras, 3 microphones, I have this online system that I put together. Consulted a ton of folks. I had a lot of help along the way. Don't want to take credit for all myself. I have a team that helps me do stuff. But, I really went back to the drawing board and said, hey, you know what? I really want to do this online thing. This is the time. So I designed it. I launched it. With any program, low-hanging fruit, for me is I'm a chef by personality. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start this with cooking classes. Right now, restaurants aren't back up and running yet. I'm not going to start training people and send them out there in the industry. They don't have jobs. Let's focus on getting this online system to a point to where it's smooth. I've worked out all the kinks, and let's do it with cooking classes. So whenever I design a program, I'm always thinking about partnerships. How can I design this thing to connect people, places, and things? And that's regardless if it's a training program, a workshop, no matter what it is. So this was no different. So with this program I launched, I partnered with this local company called 4P, who works with local farmers throughout the region and gives them an opportunity to distribute their food to restaurants and consumers. And they're kind of like this conglomerate. So I was like, wow, I love this organization. We all say we want to do farm to table. It's like, you know what, I'm really going to do farm to table. So I partnered with this organization, launched it, and the farmers send out a list each week. I put together a true farm to table menu. They send me my produce, and I cook and do virtual classes and teach people about seasonality. I teach people about local farms. I teach people about cooking technique. And most importantly, I teach people about what community looks like for us as chefs, right? And it gives people an opportunity to come together. And this is just the beginning for me. Like this platform that I've developed is going to enable me to do workshops and to take my training programs that I was once doing in my kitchen to a bigger audience.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. You are definitely a true inspiration. Everybody can learn a lot from the path that you've taken and pull from that. So thank you for what you're doing. And so your website is www.culinaryconceptsab.com. Is that right?
That's it. Yeah.
Cool. And then on Instagram, you guys are always posting stuff about cooking classes and recipes on Instagram. What is your Instagram handle there, Chef?
It's Culinary Concept _AB.
Culinary Concept _AB. To check out the Instagram feed there. You don't have to be in the Charlottesville area to take advantage of the services that Culinary Concepts provides. So wherever you're listening, check it out. It's really worthwhile, and I'm glad that you got to meet the man behind the business and what they do, because I think it's important to understand the character and the ethics that are behind the vision there. And I don't think anybody can dispute the fact that this is a great person with great intentions, great motivation, and really somebody that I think is gonna change the industry for the better. And that's why I try to keep him close, as long as he doesn't push me off that cliff before I'm ready. But
you're jumping, Chef. You just don't know it.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. My parachute is being cut as we speak, I guess. But
we don't need a parachute, Chef. It'll be fine. You'll land.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You don't know me that well. But cool, man. Well, thank you.
So good.
Well, thank you, Chef, for taking the time. I love you, man. Thank everybody for tuning in. Season 1, episode 1, kind of in the books now. That's exciting stuff. So for season 1, episode 2, I'm going to be speaking with Jeff Potter. He's the executive chef of 610 Magnolia, one of Edward Lee's restaurants down in Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to kind of go through what they've gone through during COVID-19 and how they've adjusted their model. We'll talk a little bit about the Lee Initiative that Edward Lee is working hard on and helping out local businesses and farms. And we'll just get into it with Jeff Potter. He's the executive chef there, so he's in the trenches every day, and those are the kinds of people that I really want to talk to and bring to you. So that will air on October 5th. This episode right here with Chef Antwon Brinson, if you've been in the dark and you haven't followed anything that we've done on social media for the last week and a half or 2 weeks, this episode 1 airs on September 28th. That's a Monday. That will be on all of your favorite podcast channels, including iTunes or our website, kitchenbrainx.com. And be sure to check out www.bebettercp.com to see what kind of services that we're offering there. And most importantly, Antwon Brinson, president of Culinary Concepts AB. That's culinaryconceptsab.com or culinaryconcepts _AB on Instagram. Check him out. Beautiful man. And thanks a lot, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Cheers, man.
Take care.